All right, guys. So, several people have pointed out, and I know it's sort of like counterintuitive, it doesn't make sense. And it's obviously just partly my opinion why I went over, like on the last live stream, about why, like, if Donald Trump is so disliked, then how did he win? And as I said, I believe a large part of that is because people have a tendency to blame whoever the president is for anything. Doesn't matter how responsible they are for it. And there's just been a general distaste in the mouth of American people, especially regarding the economy. And so, regardless, Biden was going to get the blame for that. Now, as I called before, like, you're thinking like it can't get any worse than this, and I promise you it will, and we're already seeing it, and it's only going to get worse, by the way. So just because things are bad does not mean you just automatically go like extreme opposite. Like, that's just dumb. But I digress on all that. This is about the Democrats. So another explanation here, and sort of what I said was, yeah, people blamed Biden Harris for the economy, and it doesn't help that X basically took over social media and pushed a very hardcore right wing algorithm, essentially feeding misinformation to people and a very distorted view. Aside from that, so already people are like wanting change, and that's kind of worldwide right now. We have like an anti incumbent streak going on like throughout the world. Uh, there's of course pockets where that's not the case, but big picture, it's happening everywhere. So one huge mistake that Harris made is she basically ran a platform of, yeah, Biden did a great job, and I can't think of anything where I would have done differently, and essentially gave the impression like more of the same. And that's probably the stupidest thing you could possibly do. That's part of it. And so this one is more about the Democrats. So, being how absolutely atrocious Donald Trump is, this isn't about me. I like absolutely can't stand the man. I hate the man. But this is about the American people as a whole. The American people as a whole, it seems, hates the Democrats to such an extent that they would rather watch America burn. Or they're like, well, there's at least a chance that he won't like fuck everything up. So yeah, essentially what I said, it can't be worse than this. And of course, his approval rating, I just went over that in the last video. It's like record breaking, uh, very terrible. But still, so my explanation was, and this is what I believe anyway, just because people made a vote does not mean they're hardcore supporters. That's a mistake a lot of people make. So the largest block of voters in the country are the on the fence, undecided, uh, independent voters by far. Your hardcore always GOP and always Dems, they generally they always make the same vote. And that's one of the reasons why there's not a huge push to garner their vote, because you don't really need to. Um, Similar to how swing states get all the attention because certain other states are always going to vote the same. Yeah. So the New York Post, or sorry, the New York Times, no, it is the New York Post, wrote an article explaining a big part of this, and I'll want to share it here. So I'm going to go over it. Some of you aren't going to like this, but it is what it is. Democrats' unfavorability rating reaches new 16-year high as party keeps licking wounds following disastrous 2024 poll. This was published January the 29th, just a few days ago. Americans may not like the GOP, but they really don't like the Democratic Party, a new poll has found. The party of Jefferson, Jackson, Kennedy, Clinton, Obama, and Biden holds a 57% unfavorable rating among voters, according to the Quinnipiac University survey released Wednesday, while just 31% of voters say they have a favorable view. The Republican Party, meanwhile, has a 43% favorability rating among voters and a 45% unfavorability rating, per the poll. The Democrats' unfavorability rating is the highest since Quinnipiac pollsters began asking the question in November 2008. Similarly, the percentage of voters viewing the GOP favorably is the highest over the same period. The brutal rating for Democrats comes as the party is licking its wounds from the 2024 election cycle, which saw all 50 states move to the right. There's our robotic, senile president with Harris beside him. Internally, Democrats are also trying to find their footing on messaging. The party's ex-leaders, former President Joe Biden and former Vice President Kamala Harris, have laid low since Trump's return. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, Democrat from New York, has reportedly warned his colleagues that Trump will flood the zone with controversial pronouncements. Instead of getting distracted, NBC reported Jeffries wants House Democrats to focus on cost of living and other kitchen table issues. Meanwhile, Trump's initial moves are enjoying widespread popularity, with his dispatching of troops to the U.S. Mexico border getting 60% approval from voters who responded to Quinnipiac. However, voters also favor citizenship being automatically granted to children born in the U.S. by a margin of more than 2 to 1. 61% to 30%, as the Trump administration has sought to strip the rights from kids of illegal immigrants. By a margin of 57% to 37%, voters disapproved of Trump's sweeping pardon of roughly 1,500 January 6, 2021 Capitol riot defendants, though 74% of Republicans said they approved of that action. I guess that tells you what you need to know about Republicans. Voters also disapproved of Biden, 82, issuing preemptive pardons to 5 members of his family, including first brother James Biden, by a 2 to 1 spread, 62% to 31%. Americans also take dim view of Trump's desire to annex Greenland, with 55% disapproving of the idea. Opinion is more divided on the question of retaking the Panama Canal Zone, with 45% disapproving and 45% approving, per Quinnipiac. On tariffs, 48% of voters believe levies on imports will harm the U.S. economy, while 42% anticipate they will be a net positive, the poll found. I love how people don't even consult experts anymore. Like all of the economists said that that the tariffs would be an absolutely terrible idea and would just pass off the extra costs on the consumers, and they're more than likely right. We're about to find out unless Trump backs down. And Americans, of course, don't care. They don't care about experts. They're like, you know what? Dunning-Kruger all the way. You know what? I know better than those people. It's hilarious. But anyway, Trump will start his second term with a net positive approval rating, 46% approve, 43% disapprove, in contrast to the -8 spread, 36% approve, 44% disapprove, at the time he took office in January 2017. I think it's funny that they threw in a couple of negative Trump things, but they're definitely not unbiased, because they're not mentioning what I just covered, that Trump holds both records for the lowest approval ratings and the highest disapproval ratings. And those aren't exactly the same thing, but it's hilarious that they're not including that. The poll sampled 1,019 registered voters nationally, January 23rd to the 27th, and had a margin of error of plus or minus 3.1 percentage points. I thought there was more to that, but I guess not. So a big part of this is not that people love Donald Trump. Again, I personally think that MAGA people, and when I say MAGA, I mean hardcore Trump supporters, like Trump all the way, I love Trump, are a very small percentage of the population. I think most people that voted for Donald Trump did so because of what I said. They're like, things have got to be better than this. And uh, if you jump into his right now, his extreme unfavorability as an individual, not the GOP, then I think it shows that, because essentially what he's doing is what he said he was going to do. Now, a lot of people do this thing where they're like, it's like they cherry pick what Donald Trump says. If they like it, they go, yeah, it's going to happen. And if they don't like it, they're like, oh, he's just blustering. Now, if there's one thing you should know about Donald Trump, like no matter how crazy it sounds, you take it seriously. Like, unless he's like, he like says something and then laughs afterward, you take it seriously. Even if he laughs, well, he usually don't do that. So I stick to that. But yeah, unless there's something that's out of the ordinary or like is a direct show that it's a joke, then you should take it seriously. And a lot of times he's tried to get out of shit in the past by claiming something was a joke. When you go back to it, it's obvious that it wasn't. So what happened is he sometimes he'll test the water, so to speak, and he'll say something that he wants to do, and then he finds out that people are like extremely angry about it, and then he goes, it was just a joke, when obviously that's not the case. He found out how unfavorable it was or how pissed people were getting at it, and then he backtracks and tries to like slip out the back door, so to speak. But anyhow, this goes into our problem, and this I agree with a lot of it, like especially what Bernie Sanders says about the Democratic Party and how it's like essentially on them, and it is. Um, as I said recently, I didn't vote, and if Democrats continue on this same general game plan, then I won't vote again, no matter what Trump does. I don't do lesser of two evil voting. And I don't think anyone should, because what it does is, I believe the plan for Democrats was, we're not going to do just about anything for the working class and for all these issues, because honestly, Democrats are, to me, Republican light. They really don't give a shit about people. They only give you what they think they have to get your vote. So what I think their plan was, Donald Trump is a fucking psychopath, right? So for a huge chunk of the population, they thought all they have to do is kind of keep it in the road. They don't have to offer that much, because essentially it's like, well, you either vote for us or you're going to get fucking Donald Trump. And that was like their whole deal. And that backfired. And I think a big part of that is because people realize that they really don't give a crap. And people are pissed for good reason. And I am as well. So, yeah, they didn't really put a lot of effort into it. So a lot of people make all kinds of like claims of like the blame, like similar to the whole DEI thing right now. It's like a big buzzword. It's really stupid. Like, it doesn't apply to anything. And any time that they've used it in recent memory, like the firefighter deal, it wasn't true. She actually started from the bottom and worked her way up. She was extremely qualified. And then we've got like the pilot thing with the crash, which turns out to be completely false as well. Like, it's at a point where if the GOP says DEI, it's probably a smoke screen and they just want to blame something, like typical to what Trump always does. He never takes credit for anything. Yeah, it's just like, look over here is essentially what it is. And then we've got people, they blamed woke. That, I'm sorry, like, it has nothing to do with whether I'm woke or not. That is just stupid on its fucking face, because Kamala did not do any woke championing. She didn't pull race cards. She didn't talk about trans issues. She tried to distance herself from it. And I think it was actually a mistake. I think a lot of the base felt abandoned because they thought that like Trump had an edge because like there's this big transphobia deal going on. And it was stupid. What they should have done is they should have said, yes, we're pro trans, we're pro LGBTQ plus whatever, and this is why. This is why we're not the GOP. This is why we're not fucking tyrant damn fascists. That's what they should have done, but they did. They fucked up. And to me, it just shows that they really don't give a shit about the things they claim they do. It's all, they just tell you what you want to hear to get your vote. And it seems like in recent months since Trump won, they're kind of doubling down. They have not learned shit. They could have learned that Bernie and AOC are like the linchpins. They're the key that holds the fucking Democratic Party together insofar as public opinion goes. And they fucked over Bernie numerous times because all they care about is their fucking like special interest groups that pay them. And of course, their interests go against the working class. Shows you where their fucking loyalties lie. And AOC got fucked out of fucking chairhead to some old dude that's completely like some boomer that has absolutely no fucking clue what people care about at all. He's like so lost. He's like been in this bubble of like bureaucratic shit for so long. He has no fucking clue. And they're not learning. They think they can play the same fucking old game that they've always played and just fucking dangle little carrots in front of people instead of giving people what they really deserve, and it's going to be okay. And they're fucking wrong. And they're probably going to fucking end up losing again unless they see the error of their ways. But yeah, this is the whole deal here. And it shows that a big part of Trump winning was how much people fucking hate Democrats right now. Thank you for your time.